Hi YouTube, Francis here. In this video I just want to get something off my chest in relation to courses, in particular energetic courses, and how to find probably more reputable teacher or teachings. There seems to be a lot of different styles out there, and I do acknowledge that when I undertook my Reiki, my level 1, my first time I did the attunement, I've actually done my attunement 3 times. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. That was back in the 90s when it was first the latest fad, and I was very curious as to what it was all about and how it differed, if it differed at all from other energetic healings that I had been using up to that stage, in particular through magical circles where we would also do distance healing. So I suppose my unscripted mind, I paid for the cheapest course I could find, and I think I got value for money. Then a number of years later, probably about 10 years, about 10 years later, I decided to sort of re-plug myself into the Reiki current, so to speak, and I underwent my second attunement for Reiki 1, level 1, and I didn't really feel anything, to be perfectly honest, and I don't think I really gelled energetically with the tutor at that time. Then about another 10 years after that, I did my level 1 for the 3rd time. This instance, it was a 2-day course. It was run through the Adult Education Centre here in Adelaide, and over the 2 days we had a lot of teachings, a lot of instruction, and the majority of it also was practical experience, where we put into practice what we had learnt, the different hand positions, how we felt the energy, how the patient or the person that was lying on the table felt the energy from various people. And when it came to the attunement, I felt this huge shift, and that was when I knew that my attunement into Reiki had actually taken place. Now, not to say that that will happen to everybody, but it was definite for me. So I had 3 different sort of teachers of Reiki, and I've also had a number of other different teachers in relation to various other energetic healing techniques and currents, and maybe it's just me, but when I know that the attunement, or when I've been plugged into that system, happens, I feel a shift in energy, and that is hard to explain if you haven't experienced it. But some people feel lightheaded, a little bit dizzy. You know, you're not feeling yourself, and some people also buzz afterwards as well. It's really quite interesting. So getting back to the conversation I had recently, how it was described to me, and I do acknowledge that this is probably 3rd or 4th hand, is that the person in question attended a 1-day course that was supposed to be level 1, and basically the teacher read at them. They basically read the notes at them. I don't know if any practical experience was undertaken, and I don't know if any attunement happened, and that's the important thing, because reading a book such as this one or this one, watching a YouTube channel, doing an online course, etc., 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 does not plug you into the Reiki current. To explain a little bit more, I will discuss just a little bit about Reiki, just in case you don't know what Reiki is and you're watching this. So Reiki is a Japanese form of holistic or energetic healing. Now I'm just reading off my notes. That uses universal life force energy, and in fact the word Rei, as in Reiki, R-E-I, means spiritual life force energy, or word to that effect. It's a similar word that in India is called prana. In China teachings, it's chi or ki. So it's all that universal energy. It was sort of devised or rediscovered or rechanneled by Dr. Usui, who's this gentleman here on this cover of this manual that I received. Back in about the 1920s, I won't go too much into his story, but he, through meditation, he sort of awoken to this energetic stream. And in its truest form, even today, nearly over 100 years later, you still can't learn Reiki as we learn things in the West. It's not knowledge-based. That's why reading books, being read at you, watching videos, doing an online course, etc. You can't learn Reiki that way. You can learn about Reiki, but you cannot actually learn the Reiki healing system that way. It's done through experience because it's energetic healing. It's very similar to other energetic healing modalities. You need to have that experience. You need to be able to draw in or channel that energy, that universal energy. And I call it a current because myself, I'm trained in various forms of energetic healing. So it's almost like I've got a series of lamps, different shapes and sizes, colors. And if someone wants a Reiki healing or I want to tap into that current, I'll plug that lamp in. Sometimes I plug in all the lamps, but I will plug in my Reiki lamp because you're hooking into that current specifically. And that is done through the attunement that you undertake. Some people call it an initiation. Initiation just means new beginning or starting again or to begin. So the attunement plugs you into that Reiki current. So when you get books such as this one that marks the symbols, big shock horror, these are supposed to be sacred symbols that you only get through your study. Picking up a book like this that actually has the symbols, so you can learn the symbols, so you can draw the symbols on people or yourself, still doesn't mean that you are doing Reiki. Because what's happened when you get attuned is that these symbols are actually put into your energetic field or your energetic self, your energetic body through that attunement. And that is very important to understand. And it's that attunement, which is why you can feel, I said, lightheaded, out of sorts, because the energy then has to sort of integrate in with you. It's a big shift. Energy, Reiki is purification, it's protection, it removes toxins from your energetic field or bodies that you may not even know are there because you're so used of them being there. Reiki moves all those away, especially when the attunement has been properly taken or healing has properly been undertaken. And that's why you feel out of sorts afterwards. And this is why, like with other forms of energetic healing, it is strongly recommended you drink lots of water to help with that cleansing, healing process. So when you wanting to learn Reiki, what should you do? As I said, I've undertaken my level 1 3 times. I haven't actually done my level 2 because to me level 2 is sort of more focusing on distance healing. I know there's other symbols, but because I'm trained in other forms of energetic healing, I've never really found the need or the drawn to expand that Reiki current. And your masters, to me, basically just a focus if you want to teach. And I have no desire to actually teach just Reiki itself. I am designing at some stage a course on how I work with energetic healing and my metaphysical background and the whole kit and caboodle. So I won't but just be focusing on Reiki. And when it comes to traditions that I'm initiated into, such as Reiki and Palawa and Seichim, because I'm not a master in any of those, I cannot actually initiate or attune anybody into those streams or currents. Or what I can do is just share information as to what it's about and what it's like, and then if someone wants to then be attuned, they can have to go and find their own teacher. So red flags for me when it comes to courses or teachers, and it could be just how I was trained. So the course that took was a 2-day course for me. It could be focused a lot on the personal experience, which is what Reiki is all about, understanding all that. If you find a course that is half a day, I would question as to what do they actually cover, okay? Because they could just give you a book, read a couple of pages from it, and you're sent on your merry way. That's not Reiki. Anybody can do that. You're not actually attuned into level 1. If they do not provide you, like this tutor has, a lineage that goes back to Dr. Usui, that to me is another red flag, because this is how Reiki is actually taught. It's taught hierarchical. Then you can be able to trace your way down. If you're given a book as opposed to something, a plane's just going ahead, that your instructor has personally put together, to me that is a questionable. I mean, it's not essential that you get something personal, but to me, and I will mention her name, Leanne Bennett, she still teaches Reiki as far as I'm aware. One of these days I'd like to see if she'll do my level 2. She has put her heart and soul into this. She's done her own research, in her own interest, and she's also got chakra information on the chakras and other healings and diagrams, how to do Reiki for animals, because animals really love that, so hands-on. She's even got it with photos all the way through, so you know exactly where your hand positions are. So this alone from Leanne Bennett was, I think, worth the course, and maybe because of the amount of energy, her own personal energy that she put into her teaching, as opposed to getting into a book, is why for someone like me it took. I'm not saying that the instructor who gave me a book is any less worthy. Maybe it's just me and how I take to this sort of energetic current. So I would check the length of the course. I would also check if they push the next level. If you're doing your Reiki 1, if they're pushing your Reiki 2, because when I undertook my training, it was recommended, and as far as I'm aware, it's still recommended, that you take at least 6 months between level 1 and level 2. As I said earlier, if an initiation or the attunement takes, you feel a change in your energetic current. You need to then integrate and assimilate that new energy stream into you and work through learning and experiencing how to use Reiki at the level 1 with the symbols, hand positions, everything. So I can't understand how if you do half a day Reiki 1 on a Saturday, you can do Reiki 2 for half a day on a Sunday. That doesn't comprehend with me, and again, that could be just a personal red flag for me. I've never investigated anybody who's advertising that. I'm not interested. I would say if you want to do Reiki properly, Reiki 1, wait 6 months. Feel that energy, work with that energy before you look at Reiki 2. If you want to do your masters, if I can remember correctly, back in the day, as we're talking about in the 90s, it was recommended at least a year before you did your masters. And then ascertain why you want to do your masters. We seem to be, especially recently, there's a lot of trainer sort of attitude happening, in that people are rushing off to become masters and this, that, and the other, so they can teach somebody else. Again, this could be just my own personal skepticism. You can't teach something that you do not know. And I know I've done my training and assessment, and part of that course, it actually tells you that you don't need to actually know a subject, you just need to how to present it, which I guess in a more educational field, that's fine. But when it comes to healing, when it comes to someone's energetic work and their makeup, I find that, can I say, irresponsible. It means that you don't fully understand what, so in this case, Reiki can actually do to a person. You're not aware of what to do if that person comes up with blockages, or how they can deal with blockages, because you haven't had that personal experience. And a lot needs to be said for personal experience. And maybe it's just me. I am drawn to people who walk their talk, as anybody can read a book and present a course or do a video, but if you do not practice it yourself, you can't teach this sort of second level, deeper level information unless you truly know. And as a student, you are actually missing out on another deeper level of personal insight from your teacher. And this is why Leanne's little manual that she's put together, it's so detailed, because she talks about her own journey with Reiki, how it benefited her, what studies it led to off for her. And that's another thing, we're dealing with universal energy. If you are not aware of how to channel, if you're not aware of where energy comes from, if you're not aware of your energy centers, your chakras, your auric fields, the different layers, and that's not covered in your course on your level 1, then again, you are missing out on a whole level of, I suppose, knowledge base, that even though I said Reiki is through experience, but you're not able to tap into where your client needs, or what they need, because you yourself are not aware, if you have not been taught. And this is the flow-on effect. I suppose technically a little bit worrying, or to me it's like, if Reiki is technically a 1 or 2 day course, and that's just for your level 1, and people are putting it in a half-day course, and then they teach somebody as a half-day course, and they encourage that person to go off on the next weekend and do their level 2, and the following weekend to do their masters, without having that energy properly assimilated. And then the student goes off and repeats the cycle. We get to a stage now where Reiki level 1, 2 and masters is done in 3 half-day courses. And that's just a shadow of what this fantastic healing technique is all about. And this is sort of goes against what Dr. Usui sort of rediscovered in the first place. So those are just sort of my 2 cents worth, I guess. A little bit longer than what I thought I would waffle on about. So I thought I would just end with the 5 principles of Reiki. And these are the ones that I said every practitioner should meditate or think about every day. So, just for today, do not anger. Just for today, do not worry. Honor your parents, teachers, and elders. Earn your living honestly. Show gratitude to every living thing. Blessings.